Hello, evening everybody. It is Sunday, 2nd of October. No sign of baby yet, although today there has been a couple of moments where it's been a bit like, oh, no. So we'll see. So I shall quickly do two of Irish whiskies, continuing our Irish run. Get them through quickly, just in case something happens. So the first one is this particular one, which was very kindly donated by Joe Ellis, who was doing Whiskey Wednesday, but sadly now isn't. So thank you, Joe, for this. Very much appreciated. This is the Dubliner Irish whiskey. Now, if you Google the Dubliner Irish whiskey, you tend to get a lot more pages for the Dubliner whiskey liqueur, which came out first before the whiskey itself. I think it came out in about maybe 2013. It was from a company called First Island Spirits, who were purchased by another company called Quintessential Brands, who are a relatively young drinks company that are acquiring brands and resources and kind of getting bigger and bigger into the market. They've got another company called Marblehead that are part of them, that are a brand development company, who I went for a job interview with earlier on this year and sadly didn't get the job. I don't think I came anywhere close, to be perfectly honest. But I did mention that I was doing this challenge and they were interested to hear that I was doing the Dubliner. So if you're watching from Quintessential and Marblehead, I hope you enjoy this, and I hope I enjoy it to give it a positive review. But you've missed out not employing me, you silly fools. So the whiskey liqueur, it was whiskey and honeycomb and caramel, and they were really pushing the honeycomb side of it. So never tried it, never even heard of it until I came across this in the challenge. And it was last year, June 2015, that they then launched the whiskey, the blended whiskey itself. So where this is made from, don't know. It's one of these, a bit like blended whiskies that aren't saying where it's from, independent bottlings that aren't saying where it's from, a lot of American whiskies that's made in another distillery, but it sounds like it's made in its own distillery that doesn't exist. It's this sort of thing. Now, Quintessential this year, in March of 2016, actually purchased another company called the Dublin Whisky Company, who are in the processes of opening a new distillery in Dublin. And they've got a brand called the Dublin Liberties, I think it was called. And again, they're sourcing it from somewhere else, but they're actually opening their own distillery, which is due to commence production in summer next year, 2017. And Quintessential have bought them, I think, for 10 million euros, with the view of giving them the stock to be able to expand their whiskey range. So this is a blended whiskey. It's a combination of single malt and grain. I don't think there's any pot still in it. I don't think. I could be wrong, but I think it's just single malt and grain whiskies. They age it in bourbon casks as well. They make quite a big point. Oh God, it's a bit leaky actually. They make quite a big point of saying it's been matured in bourbon casks. In terms of how long, don't know. I can't open it. I'm going to have to use my teeth because it's got quite slippery. There we go. Pretty tasty. Tastes all right. So this is one where it's kind of a relatively new brand of whiskey, but there seems to be a bit of oomph behind it. Quintessential have got some money, so they're really kind of pushing this quite big. There is a 10-year-old Dubliner as well, what I think is only available in the travel retail markets. Normally travel retail is quite a good way of being able to get into a market because you've got a pretty captive audience. You can give loads of samples away because people are more than happy to try samples. You can have this exclusivity where it's like, oh, I've not seen that, you're on holiday, you're more likely to spend money, or you're a businessman and you've got expenses and all this lot. And it's travel retail seems to be a good way of kind of introducing new brands, getting people interested, and then getting into the rest of the market. So I believe the 10-year-old is only available. This is a sort of, I mean, it's not a miniature, it's a, that says 50 ml, that can't be right, that's a huge bottle. Yeah, so this is what the full-size bottle looks like, and Master of Malt are selling this for 24 quid or 23.97, something like that. So it's not a bad price, it's on the cheaper end of the Irish whiskey scale, particularly looking at some of the blends that we've had recently as well. So, Joe, thanks for this, mate. If everything had paid off, I'd actually be working for these guys. and then I might have had to do kind of a slightly biased review. But I don't work for them, so I'm going to give you a completely honest review. If it's rubbish, I will say it's rubbish. If it's not, then I won't. So, quite light. Whether they've added colouring to this or not, if they've added colouring, they've not put a lot in, because it's really quite light. It's kind of a Riesling-y white wine colour. I know when I'm talking about colour, I tend to compare it to white wines. It's because it's easy for me to put it into some kind of context. But it is, yeah, it's kind of like a Riesling white wine. It's not an oaky Chardonnay or anything like that. It really is a pale colour. That's unusual, actually. It is 40%, I'm fairly certain it is, hang on. Yep, 40%. It's light on the nose, but there is a slight woodiness to it, but it's not a particularly heavy oakiness. It's more like almost like an MDF wood. And there's a slight sweetness to it. It's a very light, sugary sweetness, almost as if you're sniffing love hearts. So love hearts, those kind of sherbety sweets that you get. If you've got like some love hearts in your hand and you smell them, there is this sherbetiness, but it's a very light, sweet sherbetiness. And that's that on the nose. It doesn't smell of sherbet, it smells of love hearts, where it's kind of even lighter than that. But there is also this light woodiness, but like I say, it's not an oakiness. It's not, you know, it's talking about bourbon aging, if not bourbon maturation, but it's not as intense. It's really quite delicate. For some, probably too delicate. Nothing. There's very, very little on the palate. There's not a great deal on the nose, but what's there I kind of like. It's very, very delicate indeed. And like I say, a lot of people will be going, well, I can't really smell anything. But on the palate, there's nothing there. Really working hard for it. It even has a mouthfeel it's not thin, but it is like drinking tap water. It has got the mouthfeel of tap water, in that tap water itself can feel quite thick. So it's not like a really thin, vapid nothingness in the mouth. You do feel the sensation of liquid on your tongue, and it feels quite rich, but it's not a rich, full mouthfeel. It feels like you're drinking tap water. And then you roll it around your mouth, and there's barely any burn. You'd even struggle to say it's a 40% whiskey. Now, there was some missing out of this, but this hasn't been sat around for ages. Joe's passed this on to me. It was sealed pretty well, but you know, if he's watered it down, then he's a bastard. But I seriously doubt that he would have done. But it feels like it's had water added to it. I'm really trying to give it a chance. I'm trying to give it as much chance as possible to give me some flavours. This wouldn't even work in a cocktail, because there is not enough, there isn't even the kick of an alcohol to be able to go, well, there's whiskey in it, it's not got a lot of flavour, but at least I know there's some booze in it. It's not even got that. There is nothing to it whatsoever. We're talking Hay Club levels of nothing. In fact, Hay Club has slightly more than this. The thing is, on the nose, it's actually interesting. If it was light and delicate like the nose was, but there was flavour to it. What's interesting on the nose isn't even there. You know, it's really light and delicate nose, but there is enough there to be able to go, this could be interesting. You know, if it continues that theme, this could actually be quite interesting. It could be a spring whiskey, it could be very, very nice indeed. But there's nothing at all on that. That's an incredibly disappointing whiskey. I didn't really have my hopes up. I didn't really know what to expect from it. But, okay, add caramel, add honeycomb to that. You've probably got enough in there to be able to do an okay liqueur. I've not had the liqueur. I'd be willing to bet that it's not particularly pungent. I think it's released at 30% as well. But as a blended whiskey, the 10-year-old might have bags of flavour. But as a blended Irish whiskey, compared to something like the Kilbeggan, which was, I mean, this is 24 quid. The Kilbeggan was what, 28? Okay, 28. But even the Paddy, which was 20 quid, had more flavour to that. That is a really, really pale imitation of an Irish whiskey. And it's not a good advert for Dublin at all. I can only hope that when they start using their stock from their own distillery, they manage to get some stock that really kind of gives it oomph and flavour and everything like that, because that is just nothing whatsoever. That's one of the weakest, most vapid, uninteresting whiskies I've had this challenge. It really is. There is nothing there that I can even say it would go in a cocktail or it would be good with Coke or anything like that, because it doesn't even have the kick to cut through. It doesn't have the delicacy to be able to support anything else. It doesn't have enough, anywhere near enough to drink neat, but there's nothing to say, well, it would work as a cocktail whiskey, which, you know, some of these bottom end whiskies do. It doesn't even have that. It's got nothing to give it any kind of recommendation. Unless you literally want a whiskey that you don't want anything with, that you can just neck. And why would you want that? Not great. Not great at all. Not bad, because there is nothing bad about it. It's not like the Imperial, where what flavour was there was awful. There is just no flavour there whatsoever. So it's not a good whiskey. I struggle to recommend that. And so if you are watching from Quintessential Brands, it's probably for the best that you didn't hire me. Right, quick rinse out, and then we will crack on with another relatively new Irish whiskey as well. So I'll see you then. Cheers.